Welcome to Storyflix. In this video, we will explain our meal for tomorrow. This movie tells the story of the love between a quiet young man who has been traumatized by losing a loved one with a cheerful girl who has a serious illness. How will the end of their love story? Let's find out in our meal for tomorrow. Our meal for tomorrow tells a story of a young man looking at the city view through binoculars on the roof of a building. The youth then looked up at the blue sky with a wistful gaze. Several years earlier, the scene changes to a time when the young man was in the third grade of high school. The youth who was previously on the roof of the building was Hayama. Hayama is a high school student who has a quiet and aloof personality, so he doesn't have many friends at school. He often spent most of his time sitting quietly on the corner bench, looking out the window. Meanwhile, other high school students were busy chatting with other students. That morning, Hayama's class selected pairs of groups to participate in the race of rice bag jump that the school will be holding next week. Hayama, who looked gloomy, became difficult for other students to approach, so there were no students who were willing to pair up with him. Fortunately, a female student named Uemura approaches Hayama and invites him to be her partner in the race rice bag jump later. Uemura is a beautiful girl who is cheerful and friendly in her class. Since Uemura was the only person willing to partner with Hayama, the other students looked surprised and shocked. Hayama and Uemura had known each other for a long time because they were both neighbors and had been in the same middle school. When Hayama was in middle school, he had been a student who was quite popular among the other students. But since the death of his older brother, Hayama began to turn into a loner and gloomy. Hayama had never hung out closely with anyone anymore, including Uemura. In addition, Hayama often spends his time reading death-themed novels. Hayama's friends saw this habit as strange, so he was ignored by other students. Uemura invited Hayama to practice the race rice bag jump together during sports hours on the next day. But the experiment failed because they still couldn't find a rhythm, so they fell. While they were training together, Hayama asked Uemura why no other students were willing to partner with him. Uemura replied lightly that Hayama's aura was so gloomy that no one was willing to join him. The next day, when Hayama was busy reading a death-themed novel on a chair beside the school garden, Uemura walked up to him and asked why Hayama liked to read the same novel repeatedly. That was because Hayama was always seen carrying the same book. They returned to practice for the race rice bag jump during recess later. In this practice, Hayama advised them to change positions so they could jump more rhythmically and faster. Hayama proved successful, and they could jump much further than the previous practice. After practice was over, Hayama and Uemura rested while enjoying a cold drink together. Hayama, who was starting to feel comfortable with Uemura's presence, subconsciously told about the day his older brother died. Hayama instinctively talked about his sadness because he saw the exact same blue sky as the sky when his older brother died. However, Uemura, who didn't know how to react, chose to leave Hayama with the excuse that she would practice relay running. After school, Hayama always stopped by his older brother's funeral to pray for his older brother. His brother is a very precious person in Hayama's life, so it is still very difficult for Hayama to let his brother go. The next morning at school, Uemura approached Hayama, who was busy reading a novel. Uemura carried a bag full of death-themed novels that she found at her house. Uemura deliberately brought these novels to tell Hayama that one should not be too immersed in grief over the loss of those he loves and try to be strong in moving on with his life. Those words made Hayama speechless and keep thinking about Uemura's words. The scene changes to the time when the school sports festival day is being held. Hayama and Uemura were in one team, the red team. Although Hayama and Uemura were in the last position at first, they finally won the race of rice bag jump because of their teamwork and hard work. Hayama and Uemura looked satisfied and happy, even though they were exhausted. After their turn of the race was over, Hayama and Uemura rested on the sidelines while chatting together. In the conversation, Uemura said that she had promised herself that she would confess her feelings to Hayama if they managed to get first place. Uemura immediately asked Hayama if he was willing to date her. But unfortunately, Hayama refused the invitation because he still couldn't recover from the loss of his older brother. The next day, Hayama met with Uemura to return all the novels she had previously lent him. Uemura, who was still annoyed that her love confession was rejected by Hayama, answered sulkily that she gave all the novels to him and that he could donate the novels to someone else. Uemura then immediately left Hayama. Seeing Uemura's strange behavior, Hayama realized that he had offended Uemura by his refusal yesterday. The next day, Uemura suddenly missed school. Seeing this, Hayama felt guilty and thought that Uemura didn't go to school because she was ashamed of Hayama's previous rejection. That's why Hayama came to Uemura's house when he came home from school to visit Uemura. But apparently, Uemura didn't go to school because she was sick with the flu. After that, Hayama brought 2 bottles of soft drinks that Uemura always drank at school. Shortly after, Hayama reveals that he likes Uemura too, but he still doesn't dare to love someone because he is afraid of losing that person. Coincidentally, Uemura's grandmother came and heard all that. Hayama, who noticed the arrival of Uemura's grandmother, was surprised and immediately greeted. Uemura really only lives alone with her grandmother because her parents left her when she was little. In the afternoon, Hayama and Uemura decided to walk together on the outskirts of the village. While talking to each other about their college plans after graduation, Uemura looks enthusiastic and wants to do many things in college, while Hayama looks like he hasn't thought anything about what he wants to do in college. When graduation day arrived, Hayama whispered to Uemura that he wanted to study at the same place as her. Hearing that, Uemura was automatically startled and shouted until the other students in the library looked at them. Uemura was surprised to hear of Hayama's plan because she planned to enter Nishimen Women's University, so Hayama couldn't possibly apply to that university. Hayama finally decided to attend the Mayu Institute. After entering college, Hayama and Uemura decided to officially establish a relationship. Hayama and Uemura often spend time together on dates at their favorite fried chicken restaurant. Uemura is always happy to shake hands with the statue of the old grandpa in front of the fried chicken restaurant. According to Uemura, by shaking hands with the statue, she could gain the courage to live her daily life. After that, Hayama and Uemura decided to go up to a rooftop to see the city street view through binoculars. It was a place that Uemura and her grandmother visited when she was little. When Uemura saw the old pair of grandpa and grandma looking harmonious, she told Hayama that she wanted to have a lifelong friend like the old couple. When Hayama and Uemura were enjoying ice cream together, Uemura said that she really likes children and dreams of becoming a children's school teacher. Uemura explains that she grew up without parents and lives only with her grandparents. That situation somehow made Uemura want children who grew up without the care and love of their parents to be able to get the love of their school teacher. Hayama, who had just found out about it, was surprised that Uemura had never told him about her family's condition. Hayama looked sad and disappointed because he didn't know much about Uemura. On another day, when Hayama was on vacation in Thailand, he told about his disappointment with Uemura to a group of Japanese mothers eating with him. One of the mothers responded that there are some things in this world that we should keep to ourselves. Hearing that, Hayama realized that he didn't have to know everything if it was to make his relationship better. After Hayama returned to Japan, he immediately invited Uemura to eat together at their regular fried chicken restaurant. As they waited in line, Uemura said that when Hayama went on vacation to Thailand, she got bored and decided to go to Australia. Uemura confessed that she was used to doing everything alone, but she then hoped that she would do something together with Hayama one day. The next day, Hayama and Uemura came back to the roof of the building to take a look through the binoculars. They enjoyed the time by imitating the people's speech on the streets. After that, Uemura said she wanted to have 3 children because she wanted to know what it was like to have a complete family. The scene changes to a time 3 years later. In her last semester of college, Uemura is already working as a temporary teacher at a kindergarten. Meanwhile, Hayama is busy working part-time at a factory. One day when Hayama and Uemura were eating together, Uemura suddenly said that she wanted to end her relationship with him. Hearing this, Hayama was surprised and asked why Uemura wanted to part with him. However, Uemura did not give a clear explanation and instead told other things that were not related to their conversation. It seemed Uemura was hiding something. 2 weeks after Hayama and Uemura broke up, Sukahara invited Hayama to gather with his other friends so that Hayama could move on from Uemura. Hayama met a girl named Emiri at the gathering who attended the same college. Emiri kept trying to get close to Hayama, so he thought of starting to open his heart to other people. That day, Emiri invited Hayama to eat fried chicken at her house. After tasting Emiri's cooking, Hayama was impressed and praised her delicious cooking. From then on, the relationship between Hayama and Emiri became closer. While working at the factory with Sukahara, Hayama remembers the progress of his relationship with Emiri. Then Sukahara said that Uemura was happy that Hayama had found someone new. Even though the reality is different, Uemura actually still loves Hayama. The next day when Hayama came to his brother's funeral, he accidentally saw Uemura praying in front of his brother's grave. When Hayama asked what was the reason for Uemura's visit to his brother's grave, Uemura reasons that she feels guilty for ending their relationship unilaterally. Hayama again asked a reason why Uemura wanted to part with him. Uemura replied that their relationship was not approved by her grandmother. Again Uemura lied to Hayama. Meanwhile, the relationship between Hayama and Emiri was getting closer by the day. Emiri seems to really like Hayama, but Hayama actually looks stiff and unhappy with the relationship he is currently in. This was because Hayama actually still couldn't forget Uemura. After thinking for a while, Hayama realized that he still loved Uemura and never loved Emiri. The next day, Hayama came to Emiri's house to end his relationship because he didn't want to be in a relationship just because circumstances forced him to. That night, Hayama came to Uemura's house and asked Uemura to come back together. But Uemura still insisted on ending their relationship. Feeling dumped by Uemura, Hayama chose to lock himself in his room for weeks until Sukahara finally came to visit him and cheered him on. Hayama returned to campus the next day and went about his day as usual. But he still remembers his memories with Uemura from time to time. Hayama decided to come to the kindergarten, where Uemura worked the next day. It turned out that Uemura was taking time off because she had fallen ill and was currently being treated at the hospital. After seeing Hayama come to the hospital, Uemura finally confessed that she was experiencing treatment for a tumor in her uterus. Due to Uemura's severe condition, she was forced to experience surgery to remove the uterus, which prevented her from having children. After hearing all that, Hayama wanted to be with Uemura even more and wanted to accompany her until she recovered. That night, Hayama came to Uemura's room and gently caressed Uemura's face. An old female patient next to Uemura's room spoke to Hayama. Through that conversation, Hayama finally realized why Uemura had decided to part with him. Uemura didn't want Hayama to feel the loss of the person he loved a second time, remembering Hayama once said that he was afraid to fall in love for fear of losing someone he loved. Hayama then said that he wanted Uemura's wish to have a family to come true because she had never had a complete family since childhood. The next day when Hayama was looking at the street scene with the binoculars he used to use with Uemura, Hayama saw Uemura crying on top of the building. Seeing that, Hayama immediately ran to the hospital to cheer for Uemura. On the way, Hayama brought the old man's statue in front of their favorite fried chicken restaurant to the hospital to be handed over to Uemura. Along the way, Hayama kept remembering the times when he was still with Uemura. After Hayama arrived at the hospital, he told Uemura that she was the most precious person in his life and he wanted to continue to accompany her until she recovered. Hayama would stay with Uemura under any circumstances, even if they had no children. After that, Hayama told Uemura to shake hands with the statue of the old geezer so that she would have the courage to face her illness. The next day, Uemura experienced the operation safely and survived the operation. When Uemura comes out of the operating room, her grandmother asks Hayama to look after Uemura until the end of time. A few days after Uemura recovered from surgery, she and Hayama returned home hand in hand together. The film closes with a scene where Hayama kisses Uemura while eating together and they can finally live their relationship happily together. The moral that can be learned from this movie is found in one of Sukahara's dialogues which says that a relationship will last longer if both parties understand each other.